Oh, ladies and gentlemen, fellas, the Super Bowl of golf is here. The Masters. The motherfucking Masters. I don't know any other place you're going to find. You're not going to find it on the broadcasters. Nobody's going to call it the motherfucking Masters on the broadcasters. No. We're going to be talking quiet. We're going to be talking really proper. The whole tradition of the Masters. We're going to be screaming it here. The Masters. Welcome into the podcast and the YouTube channel for the golf event this week. I'm recording this on Sunday because we got these salaries way in advance, right? 88-person field plus if somebody ends up winning the Valero that's not already qualified. As of right now, as I am recording this, it is Sunday morning at 10 a.m. You have Jordan Spieth for, I think, the third time in 5 weeks right now, 6 weeks, third time in 5 events that he's played in, is coming into Sunday with a tie for the lead. And he's right there with the man who's the boomer bust upside play every single week in your 6K range whenever you're playing a major in Matt Wallace. Let's see if he could hang on to this one. He's had a lot of practice, Jordan Spieth, right? 2 events now of actually having these Sunday scaries, if you will. We'll see if he can close. And that's only going to skyrocket his ownership even more. No matter what, he's going to be highly owned because people know Jordan Spieth, people know the Masters, a lot of people coming in as casuals. All that Shabazz Napier, don't know where he's at these days, but all that Shabazz, Shabame, Shabuck. How you doing? Tie your shoes, take care, brush your hair. Welcome into the channel right now. Hopefully you're having a lovely week. Yo. What we're doing here is we're going, literally, there's only 89 golfers, 88 right now. So we can go through the entire range, right? We can go through all the golfers. We're going to start with 10,000 plus. I'll give you my early interest. I have projections, ranks, ownership, and lineup optimizer, all that stuff that I use and you can use as well. Link down below if you want to check it out and just track throughout the week. We'll be having a betting video on Monday. On Tuesday, we'll be doing a lineup building show live. On Wednesday, we'll do a live stream where I answer your questions specifically, get finalized ownership, talk through some of the final plays, if you will. So a lot of golf content this week. Maybe we can make some appearances. If there's anybody out there right now in the DFS community, anybody who's got shows out there, I'm sure one person is watching this. If you need a guest for any show, reach out to your boy. I love the Masters. I love golf. Former turf science major myself. I love the golf. Just got to get better at actually playing it. But this is the Super Bowl, and we get a whole motherfucking week for it. How do you like that? So if you don't know, now you know, right? We're back into the spring Masters, and we got like 6 months ago the Masters. It's great. Every 6 months, we're getting some Masters now, for at least just right now because of COVID last year ruining this. So we're back in the right scheduling spot for the Masters here in April, in the spring. And if you don't already know, you're at Augusta. You're in Georgia. I'd like to drive down there right now. I'm pretty motherfucking close. What you're getting is currently as it stands, Brooks Koepka in this field. He's been dealing with injuries. He has been reported in as playing as of Saturday. Who knows where he stands because, he's had some injuries. You have Jon Rahm, some storylines. Jon Rahm said he will leave this event to go see the birth of his child, and that makes a lot of sense. So he's going to be lower owned because of fear if his kid is due this weekend, things will happen. You have the Masters right now, a par 72, almost 7,500 yards. And oh boy, you have Dustin Johnson coming off of a record-breaking performance, going 20 under last time out. Just made the Masters like as of, Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, like not even worth watching anymore. So hopefully we get a little bit of a different event as he is the most expensive player in this field. Has he opened up as the odds-on favorite? Now he's a co-favorite with Bryson in some spots, 11,500, Mr. Dustin Johnson. So what we do right here, like, subscribe, do those things. Notification bell, subscribing really helps the channel. I'm sure a lot more of you who don't usually see my content will now be tuning into this content. So hey, Sal Vetri, very nice to meet you today. The $10,000 plus range is starting off with a whole big caboose, kabang DJ up top at 11,500. I plan to probably get 0%. Here's the thing, Masters pricing. You can get amazing players in the 7K range, like really strong players that are 9K players in a lot of other fields, right? So I'm not even looking to pay up this week, right? There's some situations where guys look good. I already can tell you that Justin Thomas, based on his price point at 10,600, is going to be probably in this range one of, if not the highest owned golfer. Bryson has a lot more name value. Dustin Johnson and Rory have some more name value, so maybe casuals can drive that down. But anybody who watches golf this week will be on Justin Thomas, and he's fine. In these top of this range and these 6 guys above $10,000 or at 10K like Xander, where he normally finds himself right there in that crowd, I have 2 yeses, and I only don't have interest in one guy. One of those yeses is Justin Thomas. He's coming off of a win at the Players. His irons have never been more dialed in. His putter is actually not catastrophic this year, outside of the Genesis where he missed the cut, and it was catastrophic. Other than that, he's actually tuning his putter right now as coming in the last 50 rounds, the best approach player in this field, and you're going to be realizing top 5 in a lot of other strokes gained categories. You'll love to see it. So it makes sense that Justin Thomas picks up a lot of ownership here, finishing 4th place last year at the Masters, and has had a lot of success at the Masters, making the cut each of the past 5 years, finishing top 20 or better in each of the last 3 years. But, and this is a big old booty, there's a lot of options, right? So in this range, it's kind of a cop-out answer for ownership. We'll see where that lies on Tuesday, Wednesday as I start to project it. I'm honestly jumping down to the 9K range Dustin Johnson, he's expensive. I don't need to get up there. I expect ownership to him. I can just stay away from Dustin Johnson. His game has been okay. It's been fine. It hasn't been fantastic. He has one historically bad putting round a couple weeks back. Then his irons are a little bit off here and there. It's nothing catastrophic. It's something that I'm scared of, right? Withdrawing out of events for the reasons of the Masters and not injuries, as I presume. But for me right now, coming off of the defending champion, coming off of somebody that is the most expensive player in the field, and I don't think that he should be $1,000 more than Justin Thomas and things of this nature, I can stay away from him. My second yes, and he's the only fade that I would have as of right now. We have to see ownership to finalize that. But my second yes is Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm is not going to pick up ownership this week. Jon Rahm is a damn good player. He is the best tee to green player in this field over the last 50 rounds. Why is he not going to pick up ownership? Not because of his recent play, not because of any other reason other than he might leave this event, which is definitely a risk. But what is that risk percentage? I don't fucking know. But is it less than 50%? Is it right around 50%? Hell, even if it's 50%, I'll take the coin flip on some of my lineups if I get Jon Rahm at, let's just say, 5% owned in some contests instead of what he should be, 15 to 20% owned. That is massive upside for a guy coming off of a 4.7, 4.8, and 5.4 strokes gain on approach in 3 out of his last 4 events. For a guy coming off of just non-stop tee to green. I said he's the best tee to green player. He hasn't lost strokes tee to green since the WGC St. June last August. That was the last time that he lost strokes tee to green. So you're getting a very similar player to Justin Thomas, although I expect there to be a third, a quarter of the ownership because of the risk of Jon Rahm potentially leaving this week. Now there's also the whole thing of if you're not in our Twitter bubble and you're not in this content bubble, do people really know that Jon Rahm's kid might be coming this weekend? Yeah, I think so. It's been on SportsCenter. It's been on probably every golfing network that they're going to see this week, and if they tune into content. And this content drives a lot of what you're going to be seeing, like Fanshare Sports and targeting. It drives a lot of what you're going to be seeing in the ownership. So yes, Mr. Jon Rahm for me is somebody that I like because of that. Bryson, Xander, Rory, they're all fine. They're all fine for me, right? Xander is going to be as cool, calm, and steady as he has always been. Bryson last year here, you know what happened 6 months ago? Did not go too well for him, right? Absolutely ejected himself out of the tournament early on in some weird conditions, of course. But he seems to now be winning on those types of events, finding the advantages even more as he goes along. So for me, Jon Rahm and Justin Thomas are the best options up here. Outside of that, though, I'm kind of looking to this 9K range. We can get into that 9K range right now. As we get into the 9K range, I want to let you know about the sponsor of the program and some cool things that we're doing. SuperDraft. If you want to use the code SAL, it's a multiplier format. I have projections for this down below. If you use the code SAL in SuperDraft, and if you put in $25 or more, they'll match you with $25. But I got 2 more things for you. I got 2 more things for you because it's Masters Week. If you're using that code SAL, every month they'll be doing giveaways for free vacation rewards and travel rewards to some of my users, my community, things like that. So you might just receive a random text this weekend like, hey, you were one of the 1 or 2 or 3 people picked, and bing, bada bang, bada boom, we're sending you on vacation. You got a 3-day stay anywhere you want. Where do you want it? We got travel credits for you because of their partnership with Caesar Rewards. So pretty cool perk. The third thing, and this one's pretty cool. Right here, we now have, look at this. Ready? Masters free roll presented by Sal. So there's $100 to first, $500 in the event. I'm giving away merch. I'm giving away draft guides. You can hop into this. It's linked down below in the description. So you can hop into it whenever you want. It's free to enter. Free to enter. $3 whiskey. So even if you're in a state where SuperDraft is not legal, you can get into this because it's free to enter. You can have your chance at winning a couple $100 and also some free giveaways. So check it out. SuperDraft is a ton of fun. I like SuperDraft a lot. They're sponsoring this program, and we have a nice little Masters free roll. So use that code SAL, S-A-L, when you sign up. Get some more benefits. And thank you, SuperDraft for, that's a pretty nice song right there, right? That's a chorus of a song. SuperDraft. But regardless, thank you, SuperDraft, for sponsoring the program today. But now we get into this range of the 9K range, where it's loaded. It is absolutely loaded. These are $10,000 golfers in a lot of events, right? You have Patrick Cantlay, fine option. You have Jordan Spieth, right? Jordan Spieth is co-leading this week right now. He's co-leading at the Valero right now. If he ends up winning that thing, expect skyrocketed ownership. I'm fading him either way. I hope he wins, so he gets even more ownership so I can fade him. It's nothing against Jordan Spieth. The irons are clicking as good as ever. He has positive history at the Masters. I get it that if he wins this event or not, based on his performance at the Valero, he should probably be like $9,800 to $10,000. I'm basically fading just off of ownership, right? In golf, you have to fade off of ownership. So I'm expecting Dustin Johnson to pick up ownership. I like Justin Thomas right now, but if he picks up ownership, Jon Rahm is my easy answer for a lot less ownership. And because of what Jordan Spieth is doing, he is going to drive down the ownership of those around him. Collin Morikawa, who doesn't set up great here, like distance-wise, he has accuracy, he has great long irons, doesn't set up great here, but still looks pretty damn good in my opinion, as somebody who has won a shit ton over the last year and a half, who comes in as a top 5 tee to green player in the field, which Jordan Spieth is slowly getting there, right, over the last month and a half. And then also you have Patrick Reed, a winner, somebody that I want there, right, has won this event, the Masters, back in 2018, finished top 10 last year. And then the person that I might like, oh, so much, the guy that I might like the most here, $9,200 Mr. Brooks Koepka. So if we want to look at this range, if we want to just look at the recent form of what you're getting, yes, you have everything you know about Jordan Spieth, the irons, the tee to green play, everything is clicking. It's clicking yet again this week right now. Jordan Spieth through 3 rounds has gained 6.5 strokes right now. 6.5 strokes with his approach. 10.7 strokes tee to green. He's continuing to play great. I'm not bashing Jordan Spieth. I'm not saying that he's not good anymore. He's been playing great for 2 months, 2.5 months at this point. It's an ownership play right there. He's going to be massively highly owned. I can stay away from it. I can pull up Fantasy National, a very nice stats site. I can link it down below for you. Not partner or anything. just think that they have very good tools. We can look at what's happening right now with Patrick Reed. You can see Patrick Reed's latest events right now. The approach play, I could say that it's somewhat slipping, but you know what you're getting out of Patrick Reed. You're getting elite putting. Really good short game. He's gained strokes putting in every single event dating back to September at the Tour Championship, right? In that smaller field event where he made it there himself, just speaks about his game, right? So Patrick Reed coming off of a couple events where he loses like a half a stroke and a stroke on approach, but he has those big weeks. If he has a big week on the approach, even if he is a net neutral, right? He only gains 1 stroke, not even on approach at the Farmers, wins it. He gains 5 strokes on approach at the WGC, finishes top 10 in a loaded field. 14th at the Zozo by gaining a stroke. 13th at the US Open by gaining 6.5. If he gains anything on approach, you know you're probably getting a top 10 finish out of a guy who's massively underpriced and going to be low owned because of what's happening with Jordan Spieth. And then we could look at Brooks Koepka, who, because of these injuries, right, the injuries that you're getting out of him, you know that the course history is going to be there for him. You know that the big game Brooks is going to be there for him for the Masters. But if you want to look at what was happening before the injuries, he was looking good, right? He ended up winning the Waste Manager on Super Bowl weekend, right? He ended up going out at the Genesis, having just a fine event, didn't score anything great, wasn't terrible. And then he finishes second at the WGC Mexico. Then he has his surgery. But the approach play was clicking. His tee to green had been clicking. His putting. We don't know, though, the recent form. We don't know how it's affected by the surgery. But because of that, we're going to get an advantage of very low ownership. Not only is he surrounded by Jordan Spieth and Tony Finau, who is always somebody who picks up ownership because he's just a consistent golfer, sets up in a lot of spots nice, and he has finished pretty nicely at the Masters, 2 top 10s in 2 of the last 3 years. So for me, Jon Rahm and Brooks Koepka stand out as guys who are very strong golfers and very good players in loaded fields, no matter what it might be. Jon Rahm hasn't won that major yet, but Brooks obviously has won a ton. Jon Rahm has won in some pretty big fields as well. Recently has been winning, right, over the past year. And these guys are going to be low owned because of some events that we just don't have answers on. And because of that, I want to take advantage of spots like that where we can get some upside. So in this 9K range, I believe that right now what I'm going to find is I want to see what happens with Tony Finau's ownership, but Brooks Koepka, Patrick Reed are the guys who stand out the most to me early on. No strong stance on Tony Finau. Continues to play well here. A top 10 tee to green player. You know, it comes down to the putting for him. He's coming in with really nice recent form. He's coming in with a bunch of second place finishes. Second place Tony, second place Finau himself, the nickname that we can just award him right now. But he's coming off of the missed cut. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't like he blew up anywhere. Just didn't have a spark in the first round and a half of golf. After that, though, a bunch of second place and top 5 finishes. We can get into the 8K range now. Again, there's just 89 golfers in this field, so we're already through, a quarter of them or so. So you get into the 8K range. Hatton looks fine. There's always concerns about Hatton on these longer courses. Always concerns about how he'll set up at the Masters. Course history, if you're looking anywhere, the Masters is the stickiest, right? I don't like course history all that much. It's fun to look at, especially the last 2 or 3 years, not much past that. But the Masters actually shows a little bit more, I would say, correlation there. Miscut, 56th, 44th miscut. This is the problem with Hatton. He's not going to have that great of a, compared to the other guys up here, off the tee game and distance. Can be accurate, but doesn't have much distance. And he has had a lot better approach play, better irons. He's probably top 10 in this field, maybe top 15 in this field, loaded field. So that can help him, but it's not more so the long irons. It's more so the accuracy. So you go down Lee Westwood, some inflated performances, putting him up there. No interest for me. You have Hovland, you have Sanjay. Sanjay's actually going to grade out well here. A debutant last year, right? 6 months ago, finishes second overall. Had a chance to really never win that thing because of what was happening with Dustin Johnson up top. The off the tee game really does help Sanjay, so he's going to be in play for me. But the guy that I like the most in the 8K range, and I'm really going to be, I said that I can skip out on the 10K plus range, right? I think that you have the guys up there like JT and Rahm, like we were mentioning, that I like, but I can skip out on it because I mentioned 4 guys in the 9K range, right? But the guy that I do like in the 8K range, and I'll be interested in seeing what happens here. A lot of people always like to go to Hideki. I question the absolute upside of Hideki in general. Obviously, Hideki has always had great finishes here. He actually saved himself back in 2019, finishing 32nd when he started off like +5, ended up making the cut with a really nice Friday. But I do question the upside of some of these guys. Matthew Fitzpatrick, right? Cam Smith finished second here 6 months ago. He's right there with Sanjay, right? He had some opportunities to really never win it either, but pull away at least from Sanjay. He's at 8,200. Okay, none of these guys are really sparking anything for me. I'd rather just go up to the 9K range or go down to what is a loaded 7K range. But Daniel Berger at $8,500 does spark something, right? His approach play has been really good. His off the tee play has been really good. You know what you're getting out of Berger in terms of what's happening from a putting standpoint, one of the better putters in this field. And he's just playing well for probably the last 18 months right now. Like if you're just looking at this year, coming off of a top 10 at the Players, he won the Pro-Am, he finished top 10 at the Tour Champions and the Sony, so he was tournament champion, so he's very good in Hawaii with back-to-back top 10s. He's just been playing consistent. The approach, the tee to green, the off the tee, the big one for him, has been standing out, arguably a top 10 off the tee player in this field. So $8,500 Berger is my favorite option in that 8K range. Outside of that, in the 8K range, Hovland definitely stands out. He's always going to stand out. He's very similar to Morikawa, if not more deadly when it comes to his precision with those irons. They are arguably the 2 best iron players on the planet right now, definitely 2 of the top 10, top 5. He's just a little bit more raw when it comes to, if you have Hovland in competition down the stretch, I trust Morikawa to close that out or play from behind way more than Hovland. We've just seen that lately. But that being said, you don't have to have him win at 8,700. So I would rank it Berger, Hovland, him, and then just throw your hands in the air like you just don't care with Tommy Fleetwood and Hatton if you want to get them into a player pool. I'd probably prefer for Hatton to go up to the 9K range, for Fleetwood to go down to this pretty decent and very nice 7K range. As we get to the 7K range, I just want to let you know about just all the other content we mentioned earlier, right? We're going to have a betting video on Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll have a lineup building show where I'll kind of go through the optimizer, the big energy optimizer. You can check it out if you want to play around with it right now and build lineups yourself. It's linked in the description below on Patreon. Projections, ranks, ownership. We'll talk about all that type of stuff. And then Wednesday, we'll have our final picks. There'll be a live stream talking through kind of my thoughts on ownership, leverage spots, more so lineup construction than who's in form, right? This video is to try and tell you who's in form, who looks like decent plays, lineup construction. But then once we have all the information in terms of finalized projections, ownership, all of which you can find down below on Patreon if you want to check it out, Discord access, all that type of stuff, come join the community. Check it out right now. No better time than the Masters Week if you're talking golf, or if you like other sports as well. We got NBA, some other sports in there. But we'll close it all out, and that'll be like the leverage show. So there'll be a lot more content, game theory to actually win, right? Having the information to know who these guys are and what they've been doing lately is very important. But the next step is, how do I leverage that information, and my opponents have other information or similar, and they're overweighting some things to actually take advantage and just jump a lot more people because of leveraging situations. No sport matters more for leverage. DFS, all sports matter for leverage, ownership, right? Fading it and playing the proper ones. No sport matters more than golf. When there's no opponent and their opponent is their mental state in their minds, you have to be fading ownership a ton. So the 7K range right now, we get up top and we have a lot of great options. You can see all the yes, maybes and no's and all those type of guys. Sergio looks fine. Sergio coming off of really good approach play form if you want to go there. Bubba's always a guy who pops up at some events where he plays well. The Masters being one of those. It wasn't great 6 months ago, but when it's actually in the spring, you're going to get 12 and 8. Fifth place finish in 19 and 18. But the guy that I'm going to like the most in this range, I expect ownership to come in here. Maybe people won't be on it as much. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else in this range who can pull ownership away. Jason Day, but probably not based on recent form. Maybe you can get Bubba and Sergio just because of their name value to pull some away. But the guy that I like the most is going to be Mr. Paul Casey. And once again, we can leverage Fantasy Nationals database to just show you what Paul Casey is doing as of late. I've been saying it a couple of times, and he's also been playing overseas. I don't know if anybody's playing as well as what Paul Casey is currently doing right now. And we saw him at the match play fine as well. I don't know if anybody's playing as well over his last 4 events on tour right now as Paul Casey, or at least in his career over a 4-stretch event, right? You're getting the putter to actually work. His worst event so far over the last 4 events that he's played in and overseas, he's barely losing a half a stroke. When Paul Casey's putter is working, you know the tee to green is going to be there, right? You know the approach play, gaining on approach and gaining 4.5 strokes or more on approach in 3 out of his last 4 events, and gaining on approach in 6 straight events, which is just fantastic to see that we actually have data for. So a 5th, a 10th, a 5th, and 8th, that's what's going to happen. A bunch of top 10s in a row. Do I think he finishes top 10 here? Honestly, yeah, I would not doubt it. You had Paul Casey last year having a made cut here. He has had a lot of success back in the past at the Masters. He's had 3 top 20 finishes in the last 5 years, coming in with very strong form, coming in with everything that you want to see in terms of just the off the tee form. The putter's actually doing something. It's not dead, so that's a bonus outside of like your Benny Ann's and your Hidekis, whose putters, actually Hideki lately hasn't been terrible, but putters are just usually dead. So Casey is the diamond in really all the diamonds in this range. Sergio, Bubba, Adam Scott, Day, Louis, Neiman, all these guys are in a player pool for me. Paul Casey would be the one who stands out a little bit more. The other guy who stands out will be Abraham Answer. If these guys end up being the 2 highest owned, I just easily pivot to a Neiman. I just easily pivot to a guy like a Sergio up top. I prefer Sergio to Bubba and Adam Scott. Adam Scott seems a little bit broken. We saw Adam Scott show some life and show some pulse from a ball striking standpoint last time out, but I'm only going to go there if I truly have to. I'm hoping that one of Answer or Casey is not super owned. If they're both not super owned, great. Now we can really start to build these 9 and 7K lineups and not have to touch the 8 or the 10K range all that much. But what you're getting out of Answer of late is great approach play. He's gained on approach in every single event in 2021. He's gained tee to green in every single event since the Sony back in mid-January. So everything's looking good from Answer from that standpoint. If we're talking $7,500 and above, my priorities would be 1, Paul Casey, 2, Answer. But now we can scroll down towards the bottom of this section, pull back up this screen. So below is Answer's price point at $7,400. You have some other options. Zalatoris, a debutant, right? There's a whole narrative of the debutant and not really wanting to go after them. He's in a player pool. I'm not really high on him. Justin Rose, who is not playing well as of late, but usually had some pretty nice success. Missed a cut 2 years ago. It was him and Hideki who was like battling, and he ended up missing it. Hideki ended up making it. Has had success here as well. Justin Rose, of course. $7,200 though. Recent form is not great. If he picks up any ownership, and I don't expect much now at this range, if it's like 5% or lower, he'll stay in a player pool for me. Otherwise, I can get away from it. But the guy who's below 70, but basically between $7K and $7,300 that I think is going to be the best option. I'm looking at a bet, and we'll have our finalized betting card tomorrow morning once we get better lines, once we get the Valero to end, and we can get some differences in those lines and maybe take advantage of it. There's a 100-to-1 number right now in Homa. Made his debut here last year, 6 months ago, ended up missing the cut. But since then, I don't know if he's been playing better golf. Now, he's coming off of a missed cut at the Players. His just putter putter wasn't working, right? And that's not something you normally have to worry about with Max Homa, who is a pretty solid putter, definitely in this field, I would say an above average putter. But before that, you're getting pretty nice play on approach. He's coming off of an event where he gains 3 strokes on approach. You're getting nice tee to green form, nice off the tee form. He obviously has a win in there. Outside of the win, a 7th, a top 10 at the AT&T, and the Arnold Palmer, a 22nd in a loaded field at the WGC. And then he finally misses his first cut since last year's Masters at the Players. So I'm hoping that missed cut, not a lot of talk, not a great performance at the Masters last time out. At the Masters, he lost 2 total strokes. We don't get the exact breakdown from the Masters. But Homa at $7,100, I like it. The 100-to-1 number is out there. I'm hoping that after this week at the Valero, some other guys, their numbers get propped up. Maybe it makes Homa become 125-to-1. Maybe we can find a 150-to-1 out there. But we can talk about that on the Monday betting show. Homa is going to be my favorite option in this range before we hit this 6K range. Now, the 6K range, it's separated, right? So I'll separate it between $6,900 to $6,500 right here. Up top is going to be a bunch of chalk guys. Cory Connors, I expect to pick up a lot of ownership, and I'm hoping that can pull it off of Max Homa. I like Max Homa either way. If Cory Connors doesn't pick up much ownership, for whatever reason, people are not paying attention to how well this guy's been playing lately, well, then more power to us, because you can see Cory Connors right here. Everybody was on him at the Genesis. He ended up missing the cut. And then it was very easy to just say the flop lag play of the week at the next week, the Arnold Palmer, where he finished 3rd, is going to be Cory Connors. He ended up getting over 7 strokes on approach. If we just want to look at his career, that was the second best performance of his career, getting 7 strokes. Comes out at the Players, plays fantastic, finishes top 10 yet again. Cory Connors has been absolutely smashing. The Genesis was the one spot that he missed the cut because of his putter. The putter has come alive for Cory Connors, something that you don't normally say, right? The last year, and really just 2021, has been good there. He has finished outside of that missed cut. His worst performance is only outside the top 20 was a 37th at the Farmers, where everything was also fine there. He just did not excel in one area. He just played fine everywhere. So Connors is as good of a golfer as you're going to be finding, especially based on recent form. And because of that, I expect a lot of ownership to come in on him. He also had a top 10 back here the last time that we saw him at the Masters. Now you have Kokrak in this range, Leishman, Brian Harman. They're all pivot potentials. I think Max Homa is your best pivot off of a Cory Connors if you can find the extra $200. But Connors firmly in play for me as the first guy that I like in the 6K range. Then there's a lot of other guys who are just decent golfers that you can fill out lineups with if you don't have any other place to go, right? Nobody stands out between Kisner, Fratelli, Siwoo, Sebastian Munoz, Phil Mickelson. Even Phil Mickelson, who's been playing better as of late, normally just an automatic fade for me. Outside of his wins on the senior tour, Phil is actually playing pretty quality golf, right? You're finding him in back-to-back events, gaining on approach, gaining tee to green. It's been looking very nice. He's gained 4 strokes tee to green in 3.6, finishing 35th and 25th. He obviously has very good form here at the Masters if you're talking course history. So Phil is actually somebody who I plan to keep in a player pool. You can see him right there at $6,600. Phil Mickelson has made the cut each of the last 4 years. He's actually had some nice finishes in the top 25 in 2 out of his last 4 years. And you're actually getting recent form Phil, right? Some entertainment value when you actually watch the guy. They're going to put him on TV a lot as well for you, obviously, of the Masters app. But $6,600, he might be my favorite play out of Kisner and out of Fratelli and Sebastian Munoz and Siwoo, just because we're seeing a pulse out of him right now. And I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to that. But outside of him, big old booty, outside of Cory Connors at $6,900, Ryan Palmer probably down here at $6,500. Kevin Na, they look okay. I would say that I would take Palmer over Na. Right now, I'd probably rank it. Cory Connors, then a massive teardrop between $6,500 and $6,900, and down to just kind of throw a dart at Ryan Palmer, Phil Mickelson, and like Dylan Fratelli, Siwoo Kim. But I do think Phil is a very sneaky option this week compared to most weeks. And now below $6,500, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like anybody at $6,000 flat. I don't even know who any of these people are, to be honest. It's just a bunch of people who have lifetime passes here for whatever reasons, like Mike Weir's in this field, Jim Herman, sure I know them, right? Robert Streb. Don't have any interest in anybody at like $6,000 flat. The lowest that I would go this week is $6,100. Michael Thompson, who's actually won on the PGA Tour over the past year, and also Stuart Sink. Neither of these guys stand out in a major way. It's just if for whatever reason you're really trying to punt all the way down here. You don't have to because of who we just talked about in the 7K range, loads of options, the above $6,500 and $6,900 range in the 6K range. You really don't have to go down here. The difference in their golfers from $6,900 Cory Connors to Stuart Sink is massive. Just find that extra money and just don't pay up, right? But that's where I would punt the bare minimum, $6,100, nothing in the 6K range with Thompson and Stuart Sink. But then we can go up a little bit higher, and there are some actual options here. Lanto Griffin is $6,400. This is a big shrug emoji. I have no idea why this is happening. The way that Lanto Griffin has been playing lately should have Lanto Griffin in the mid to upper 7K range. I have no idea why Lanto Griffin is at this current price point. He could have just paid a week ago Lanto Griffin in the 8K range. I get it. It's a totally different field. But Lanto at 64 is just a big shrug. The way you have Matt Jones here, who's actually won recently, but how consistent Lanto has been playing, right? He's made the cut in each of his last 5 events. He's finished 35th or better in each of those events, having a bunch of top 25s and a top 10 at the Farmers in there. The approach play, the tee to green, gaining in those formats on each of the last 3 events. One last time, we could flash Fantasy National on the screen so that you can basically just see all this, right? You can see all that he's doing. He's finishing very well this year. He's had a very good season. Even if you take out his miscut at the Amex where he just did not have the off the tee, the ball striking going, he played fine at the Sony. He played 13th in a small field event at the Tournament of Champions. Lanto's been very good, so I'm actually surprised. I'm shocked to see this price point on him. Lanto Griffin at $6,400 is somebody that is okay to eat the chalk on. Now, if it's 30-35% chalk in your contests and your fields, no, stay away from it. But if Lanto Griffin in this lower 6K range is 15% owned, I'm fine with that because he's levels above these other guys. Zach Johnson's coming in with good form. Obviously, he has some nice appearances at the Masters as well. So $6,300, I'm fine with that. Charles, I'm fine with that. We've had nice success in the past, years ago though, but success in the past from Charles here. It's just that when you're comparing these guys to the consistency of what Lanto is doing, he's a $7,500 golfer in the $6,400 range. For those of you that have access to my projections and my top plays and my ranks and the top rated plays based on point per dollar and ownership and things like that, expect Lanto to be a high rated player, propping up potentially as our highest overall point per dollar play, and get access to all that down below. So that's where I'm at right now. Below $6,500, it's Lanto Griffin by far and away. Then you can fill in some of the pieces if you really want to with like a Zach Johnson and a Charles. But $6,400 Lanto is probably the cheapest that I personally go in my main lineups this week. Cory Connors is probably my favorite option between $6,900 and $6,500 with Ryan Palmer, Phil Mickelson, and then a bunch of other guys to fill in the gaps. In the 7K range, there's a lot of guys I like, right? I like Max Homa. I like Paul Casey. I like Answer. I'd probably rank it Casey, Homa, and Answer right now, but some strong pivot options like a Neiman, right? You could pivot to a Sergio. Really strong pivot options in this field. In the 8K range, the best option for me is Daniel Berger. I'm not really liking the 8K range all that much. It's probably Berger, Hovland, Sanjay for me in that order. To recap the 9K range, this is where I'm going to be going, right? I'll probably get 2 or 3 guys in this 9K range, fill out with the 7K range. That's where it's looking early on right now. I would probably rank this range, and they're all really close, like a 1A Reed, a 2A Mr. Brooks Koepka, Finau after that, and then a Morikawa. I'm trying to take into account ownership there, but we can track it later in the week. In the 10K plus range, give me Rahm and Justin Thomas. No problems with Rory, Xander, or Bryson. They're in the player pool. I'll probably fade Dustin Johnson up top, but right now, Rahm and Justin Thomas. Thomas will likely be the highest owned in this range. Rahm, I'm hoping and I'm expecting the lowest owned in this range, but we shall see as the week goes on. Betting show on Monday. Tuesday, the lineup building show where we can go through the optimizer and look at some ways to get different in your lineups. And Wednesday, the final thoughts based on ownership and a bunch of other things. Your questions as well answered there. So before you go, like, subscribe, do all those things. We'll have NBA content throughout the week as well, but the Masters are here. Hopefully you're having a nice, lovely weekend, Easter weekend, and a nice start to your week. Check out the sponsor of the program and really that link down below. It's a free contest. It's free. A couple $100 in play, some draft guides, some merch to give away. Free contest on SuperDraft. No matter where you live, it's going to be legal because it is a free to enter contest. So be sure to check it out. It's linked down below. If you want to play some paid for contests, because they're going to have a big $10,000 first contest, the Albatross this week, be sure to use the code SAL. You get some nice deposit bonus and potential raffled off vacations each month. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you all in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day.